Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Todd for LiveLeanRX, and today I'm going to talk to you about body composition. And when we talk about body composition, what we're really talking about is the proportion of fat versus fat-free mass in the body. And fat-free mass consists of muscle, bone, organs, all the things that aren't fat. And you've probably heard about ways to measure body composition in the past. There are skin calipers where you can pinch part of the skin and then you use some prediction equations based on that to measure body fat. You might have heard of underwater weighing, where you take an individual and dunk them in a tank and they exhale all their air and you measure how much they weigh underwater. You compare that to how much they weigh in the air and you can calculate the volume of the body. You then plug that into an equation to try and calculate body fat that way. It's a long process, it's a messy process. You may have heard of bioelectrical impedance, where you can pass an electrical charge through the body. That method is highly dependent on hydration level of the body. But what we do here at LiveLean is a DEXA scan. And a DEXA scan is what we feel to be the gold standard in body composition measurement. A very low energy X-ray is passed through the body, and those X-rays absorb at different rates depending on whether they're passing through fat or muscle. And there are some advantages to this. Not only do you get to know body fat very accurately and very reproducibly, but you also learn bone mass, and visceral fat, which is the adipose tissue that's around the organs. This is the type of fat that's predictive of cardiovascular disease, metabolic disorder. This is what we would call the unhealthy fat. So this is the advantage of DEXA scanning over the other methods of body fat measurement. Well, why do we want to measure body fat? As opposed to just looking at weight. When most people undertake some type of exercise or diet program, they typically get on the scale and they think to themselves, okay, I want to see the number on the scale fall. Well, there are a lot of things that influence the number on the scale. I mean, ideally we want that weight to come from fat, but usually when we get on the scale, when we're looking at day-to-day variations in weight, it's really just things like water, waste that's in the colon, how much did you sweat the day before. So all these things sort of confound the number on the scale, and you don't really know whether you're losing fat. Really what you're measuring is just the day-to-day fluctuations in body weight based on what you eat and drink. So it's not a very useful number in terms of measuring the effectiveness of your exercise program, and yet it's the most commonly used number. So we're going to give you some examples here of why measuring body composition is so much more effective than just measuring body weight. So let's say we have a woman who's 135 pounds, and of that 135 pounds, 43 pounds of that is fat, 92 pounds of that is lean or fat-free mass, and that puts her at a body fat percentage of 32. She's 32% fat. Now let's say she takes up a diet and exercise program, and let's say she gains 10 pounds of muscle, but also loses 10 pounds of fat. So her muscle mass goes from 92 to 102, so she increases 10 pounds of muscle, but she drops 10 pounds of fat, and now her fat goes to 33 pounds. Her weight stays at 135, right? Because she dropped 10 pounds of fat and increased 10 pounds of muscle. So if this woman does this for 3 months or 4 months and she's just getting on the scale, she might say, this program is ineffective at helping me lose weight. This program is ineffective at helping her lose weight. What this program is effective in is helping her lose fat and helping her gain muscle. And this new body fat percentage is now 24%. So she had an 8% drop in body fat, even though her weight stayed exactly the same. This woman's going to look like a different person at 24% fat compared to 32. So this is a very good situation to be in, but if we were just measuring weight, we would say that's ineffective. So let's look at a different example. Let's say we're taking that same woman, and instead of having a well-conceived program where she's eating properly and doing resistance training and some cardio, let's say now she's just going to do extreme calorie restriction. She's going to say, look, I'm just going to cut my calories. I know this is how I can lose weight. I've done it in the past. So she cuts her calories and she gets on a treadmill and just starts running every day. So she's doing a lot of aerobic exercise and she's not really fueling herself properly. And it results in weight loss. So now, let's say her weight goes to 125. So her new weight is now 125, but let's say all of that weight comes from muscle, which is a typical response when you have extreme calorie restriction coupled with a lot of exercise. So now, if her lean mass goes to 82 and her fat mass stays exactly the same, she might initially be happy because she say, hey, look, this really worked. I lost 10 pounds. But what does that do to her percent fat? This drives her percent fat up. So now her percent fat is 34 instead of 32. So what is the problem with this? The problem with this is because she lost this 10 pounds of muscle, that's also going to drive down her metabolic rate. It's going to slow down her metabolic rate. It's going to be more difficult for her to burn calories. It's going to be more difficult for her to lose fat over the long run. So this again is a very typical response, and this person is not really going to be happy. They may be happy with the weight loss, but when they look at themselves, they're actually going to be fatter, right? Their percent fat is going to go up because the ratio of fat to muscle has changed in a negative way. So this is the difference between measuring weight and measuring fat and muscle. So if we think about another example would be a 40-year-old guy who weighs 180 pounds, 10 years goes by, he may still weigh 180 pounds, but now at 50 years old, he probably lost about, I don't know, who knows, 5 to 10 pounds of muscle and replaced that with fat. So from a weight perspective, he may think, hey, I'm great, I'm the same way as I was 10 years ago, but in reality, he's probably fatter. So we try and teach people to understand the difference between fat loss and weight loss. And we do that by measuring body composition on a regular, consistent basis, making sure that people's diets and exercise plans are in order to support positive changes in body composition. And this is something that you will never be able to do properly just by getting on a scale. Thanks.